It looks like the most ordinary coin in your pocket. Copper-plated, light, almost forgettable. You've probably handed one to a cashier without a second thought, or left it in a jar on your dresser for years. But what if one of those pennies, right now, within arm's reach, could be worth more than a luxury home? More than a retirement fund? What if a single glance at the date and a tiny missing letter could change everything? Because in 2016, something strange happened at the U.S. Mint. Millions of Lincoln cents were struck, just like every year. Philadelphia produced its share, and as usual, those coins carried no mint mark. Completely normal. Completely routine. Except for the few that weren't. Hidden among the billions are coins that collectors whisper about. Coins that have sold for staggering sums when the right combination of rarity, condition, and error align. Coins that have turned pocket change into life-changing money. And the most shocking part? They don't look rare at first. The 2016 no-mint mark Lincoln cent is a master of disguise. It blends in with the rest of your change. It passes through gas stations, grocery stores, tip jars, and coin rolls unnoticed. Yet in pristine, flawless condition, the kind that somehow escaped circulation untouched, examples have reached reported market highs that sound almost unreal. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Figures like $844,000 attached to the finest known specimens tied to extraordinary error combinations and elite grading outcomes. Pause for a second and imagine that a coin you could find in a bank roll, worth nearly $1 million. So what's the secret? Why would one of the most common coins in America become a collector's dream? It starts with the way coins are made, and the fact that perfection is nearly impossible. Inside the minting presses, metal blanks are struck with tons of pressure. Dies wear down. Microscopic shifts happen. Planchets feed at the wrong angle. For most coins, these tiny imperfections are invisible. But once in a while, the process produces something extraordinary. A doubled image where there should be a date that looks slightly thicker, almost vibrating. Lettering that seems to float. A strike so sharp and flawless it looks like it was frozen in time. Now ask yourself, how many people would notice that while buying coffee? Exactly. And that's why the greatest treasures are still out there. Collectors know that modern coins in ultra-high grades are far rarer than people think. Most coins are immediately tossed into circulation, picked up, dropped, scratched, dulled. To find a 2016 Lincoln cent with no mint mark that grades at the absolute top of the scale, a perfect survivor with blazing luster and 0 marks, is like finding a needle in a field of copper. But when you add a dramatic mint error into the mix, everything changes. Off-center strikes that shift the design into surreal territory. Broad strikes that stretch the coin beyond its normal shape. Wrong planchet errors, where a penny is struck on metal mint for another denomination, and the most coveted of all, doubled dies so strong you can see them without a microscope. Each one tells a story of a split second inside the mint when something went wrong, and created something incredibly right. Here's the twist most people never hear. Rarity isn't just about how many exist. It's about how many exist in elite condition. A coin can have thousands of examples, but if only a handful are preserved in near-perfect state, those few become the kings of the market. That's where the headlines come from. That's where the jaw-dropping auction results are born. And that's why a seemingly ordinary 2016 no-mint mark cent can leap from 1 cent to a 5 or even 6-figure valuation when it checks every box: rarity, error, and condition. Think about the journey of a single coin. It leaves the mint in a sealed bag, flawless and gleaming. It's shipped to a bank. It's cracked open, rolled, and handed to a teller. One customer spends it. Another drops it. A third tosses it into a jar. Most coins never escape that fate, but a few do. A few are pulled aside by someone who looks closer than everyone else. Someone who notices the sharpness of the strike. The mirror-like fields. the subtle doubling in the lettering, the missing mint mark that shouldn't matter, but suddenly does. And in that moment, a 1-cent coin becomes a discovery. How many times have you emptied your pockets without looking? How many rolls of pennies have passed through your hands? How many opportunities slipped by because no one told you what to watch for? This is where the story shifts from the coin to you. Because the people who find these coins aren't treasure hunters with metal detectors on remote islands. They're ordinary Americans. Bank tellers, teachers, retirees, cashiers, people who decided to slow down and pay attention. They search coin rolls at the kitchen table. They check the dates before dropping change into a jar. They learn the tiny details that separate common from extraordinary. And once in a while, they win, not because they were lucky, because they were prepared when luck appeared. The 2016 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent represents something bigger than a single coin. It represents the idea that hidden value still exists in the modern world, that not every treasure has been found, that wealth can still be discovered in plain sight. But here's the part that adds urgency. Every year, more people learn about these coins. More collectors search. More high-grade examples are locked away in private collections. The window doesn't stay open forever. Somewhere, right now, one of these coins could be sitting in a cash register or in a jar in your home or at a roll at your local bank, waiting for someone who knows what to look for. What would you do if you found one? Would you recognize it? Would you know the difference between a spender and a once-in-a-lifetime discovery? Because the difference between 1 cent and hundreds of thousands of dollars is often just knowledge and attention. This is the moment where most people feel that spark, that urge to check the coins in their pocket, that sudden realization that the next great discovery doesn't belong to someone else. It could belong to you. Look at the date. Look at the surfaces. Look for anything unusual, anything that doesn't match the coins around it. Because history has shown, again and again, that the most valuable coins are the ones no one expected. And the next record-setting 2016 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent? It hasn't been found yet. It's still out there, moving silently through everyday transactions, waiting for the right set of eyes to stop, to notice, to understand. The question isn't whether these coins exist. The question is, who will find the next one? Will it be someone who never learned what to look for? Or will it be you, tonight, at your kitchen table, turning over a handful of pennies and realizing that one of them doesn't look quite like the others? Because that's how every great coin story begins. With a single glance, a single moment, a single cent that changes everything. What if the next time you reached into your pocket for a handful of change, you were holding a coin worth more than a house? Not a gold coin, not a century-old relic. A penny. A single, copper-colored Lincoln cent, dated 2015, with no mint mark. It sounds impossible. It feels like one of those internet myths. But for a small group of collectors who know exactly what to look for, this ordinary-looking coin has become the center of a modern treasure hunt, one that has already sent shockwaves through the coin market, with pristine examples reportedly commanding prices as high as $844,000. Yes, for a penny. And here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night. These coins were released into everyday circulation. They passed through cash registers. They sat in tip jars. They rode in cup holders, laundry rooms, and kitchen drawers. Which means the next life-changing discovery could be hiding in plain sight, maybe even in your home, right now. Because the story of the 2015 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent isn't just about a coin. It's about a mistake. A mystery. And the possibility that something everyone else ignores could change your life forever. Most people never look twice at a modern penny. Why would they? It's the smallest denomination in American currency, often left behind at the checkout counter, tossed into jars, or traded for nothing more than convenience. But collectors know a secret that most of the world doesn't. The smallest details create the biggest value. On a normal Lincoln cent, the mint mark tells you where the coin was made, Philadelphia or Denver. But in 2015, something unusual began to surface. Coins that should have carried identifying marks didn't. At first, they were dismissed as ordinary Philadelphia issues. After all, Philadelphia cents traditionally don't carry a mint mark. But then sharp-eyed collectors noticed something strange: the strike quality, the surface texture, the subtle die characteristics that didn't match what they were supposed to be. It was as if two different stories were being told by the same coin. And that's when the whispers began. Could these coins be the result of a minting anomaly, a transitional die, an undocumented production error, or something even more rare? Because in the world of coin collecting, ordinary is often just a disguise for something extraordinary. And when the first examples were professionally graded in near-perfect condition, the market reacted. Prices climbed. Then they leapt. Then they exploded. A modern penny, something you could have received in change at a gas station, was suddenly commanding 5 figures, then 6. And at the very top of the condition scale, where only a tiny handful of coins exist in flawless, museum-quality preservation, reports emerged of sales reaching into the realm of $844,000. Let that sink in. $844,000. For 1 cent. Here's the twist that makes this story impossible to ignore. Condition is everything. Most of the 2015 cents that people encounter are worn, scratched, and dulled by years of circulation. Those are common. They'll never make headlines. But a coin that somehow escaped the chaos of everyday use, one that remained untouched, brilliant, and perfectly struck, becomes something else entirely. It becomes a survivor. And survivors in the coin world are where fortunes are made. Think about it. How many coins have passed through your hands since 2015? How many jars of change are sitting in closets, garages, or kitchen cabinets across America right now? How many people have unknowingly spent one of these coins on a cup of coffee because they never thought to look? The difference between a penny and a life-changing discovery is knowledge and timing, because every day that passes, more of these coins are lost to circulation damage. More are scratched. More are cleaned, destroying their value forever. Which means the number of high-grade survivors isn't just small, it's shrinking. That's what drives the urgency. That's what fuels the hunt. And here's where the story turns from fascinating to personal. You don't need to be a professional numismatist to find one. You don't need a vault. You don't need a rare coin dealer. You don't need millions of dollars. All you need is curiosity and the willingness to look at something everyone else ignores. Because the people who make these discoveries are not always experts. They're ordinary individuals who decided, just once, to check their change. A retired couple sorting through a jar on a rainy afternoon. A cashier who noticed an unusually sharp strike. A collector searching bank rolls late at night, one coin at a time. They weren't chasing a fantasy. They were following a possibility. And possibility is powerful. So what should you be looking for? A 2015 Lincoln cent. An mint mark. Unusual sharpness in the details. Lincoln's hair, the lettering, the surfaces that appear almost too clean, too precise for a standard circulation coin. Coins that look different. Coins that make you pause. Because in this hunt, hesitation is a signal. If a coin catches your eye, there's a reason. And here's the part most people never hear. The value isn't just in the coin itself. It's in the story it tells when it's authenticated. When a rare coin is graded and sealed in a professional holder, it becomes a documented piece of history. A verified anomaly. A tangible mystery that collectors compete for. And competition drives prices into territory that sounds unreal. But it happens. Again and again. Because rarity isn't about age. It's about survival, demand, and the thrill of owning something almost no one else can. Now imagine the moment. You're sitting at a table with a small stack of pennies. One of them looks brighter than the rest. You tilt it under the light. And oh, mint mark. Perfect surfaces. A strange feeling in your chest. Could this be the one? That moment, that single second of realization, is why people search. It's not just about money. It's about discovery. It's about beating the odds in a world where life-changing opportunities are supposed to be reserved for someone else. But this one isn't. This one could be in your pocket, right now. And here's the final, electrifying truth. The hunt for the 2015 no mint mark Lincoln Cent is still unfolding. New examples are still being found. New records are still being set. Which means the biggest discovery might not have happened. It could belong to the next person who decides to look closer. So tonight, when you walk past the jar of change, when you empty your pockets onto the table, when you hear the soft clink of copper on wood, ask yourself one question. What if the smallest coin in your home is the one that changes everything? Because history has already proven that it can. And the next chapter of this story. A single copper coin sliding across a countertop. The dull clink as it lands among loose change. The kind of moment you forget before it even happens. But what if that sound was the echo of a fortune? What if one of the most overlooked pennies in modern circulation, the 2014 Lincoln Cent, was quietly hiding in plain sight, waiting in junk drawers, gas station change, and coffee shop tip jars, while a handful of collectors have already uncovered versions worth thousands, tens of thousands, and in extraordinary conditions. Whispers in the market climbing toward an astonishing $844,000? Not a gold coin, not a century-old relic. A penny, and not just any penny. The 2014 D. Because beneath its familiar surface, behind Lincoln's calm profile, lies a story that most people will never hear, and a set of rare errors so subtle, so easy to miss, that they've been slipping through millions of hands completely unnoticed. This is not about pocket change. This is about the moment you realize the next coin you touch could change everything. The Denver Mint struck billions of 2014 Lincoln Cents. Billions. That number alone should make this coin ordinary, forgettable, disposable. But rarity doesn't always begin with small numbers. Sometimes, rarity is born from mistakes, microscopic misalignments, die breaks that shouldn't exist, double details that only reveal themselves under the right light. And here's the twist that stops seasoned collectors in their tracks. Some of these error varieties were never meant to leave the mint. Yet they did. Somewhere during production, something shifted. A die was imperfect. A hub pressed twice. A planchet carried a flaw forward into history. And the result? Coins that look normal to the untrained eye, but to those who know, they're electric. Have you ever looked at the date on your penny and wondered, does the mint mark look slightly off? Have you ever noticed the letters in Liberty and thought, are they thicker than they should be? Have you ever tilted a coin and seen an extra shadow where there should be none? Most people don't. That's why these coins are still out there, waiting. The 2014 D double die varieties are among the most talked about modern discoveries. Not dramatic like the famous 1955. No bold cartoon like doubling shouting for attention, but subtle. Dangerous in their subtlety. A second image on the date. A faint duplication in Lincoln's profile. Extra thickness in the motto. You don't see it at first, and then suddenly, you do. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's the moment collectors describe as the heartbeat pause. The second where time slows down and your mind starts racing. Could this be one? Because when authenticated, when graded at the highest levels, when preserved in near-perfect condition, that's when the numbers begin to climb 0.4 figures, 0.5 figures, and in the most elite state of preservation, pristine, flawless, untouched by circulation, the market has shown just how far modern coin values can stretch. With top-tier Lincoln Cents reaching into territory once reserved only for legendary rarities. $844,000 for a penny. Let that sink in. This is why the search matters. This is why people who once ignored their change are now opening jars that haven't been touched in decades. Because the 2014 D isn't just about one known variety. It's about the growing list of reported anomalies. Off-center strikes that shift Lincoln's portrait into the unknown. Die breaks forming tiny raised bridges between letters. Cuds that look like molten metal frozen in time. Wrong planchet strikes. The ultimate modern minting accident. Each one a fingerprint of a moment when the minting process faltered and created something unique, something valuable. And here's the most thrilling part. These coins are modern. They were spent at grocery stores, dropped into vending machines, handed out as change at drive-thrus. They didn't vanish into private vaults a century ago. They're still moving, still circulating, still being overlooked. Right now, somewhere in America, a 2014 D. Error cent is sitting in a coin jar beside a couch, writing in a cup holder, or resting in the bottom of a purse, and the person holding it has no idea. That's the tension. That's the possibility. That's the reason this story keeps growing. Because unlike the legendary rarities that are already locked away, this hunt is still alive. Think about it. How many pennies pass through your hands in a single week? How many do you ignore because they feel worthless? How many times have you heard someone say, "It's just a penny," just a penny, until it isn't? Collectors who have discovered high-grade 2014 D cents describe the same surreal moment, the realization that condition is everything, not scratched, not worn, not dulled by years of circulation, but sharp, blazing red luster, crisp details, flawless fields that reflect light like glass. In that state, modern coins transform. They stop being common, they become elite. And when a coin reaches the highest grading levels, population reports showing only a handful in existence, that's when bidding wars begin. That's when the numbers stop making sense to outsiders and start making dreams feel real. Because this isn't just about coins. It's about the idea that something small, something overlooked, something you already have, could hold extraordinary value. It's about the thrill of the search. The late nights under a desk lamp with a magnifier in hand. The slow turning of a coin between your fingers. The sudden jolt when you spot something different. That's not collecting. That's discovery. And discovery is addictive. But here's the cliffhanger that keeps this story alive. New examples are still being found. Not in museums. Not in auctions. In pocket change. Which means the next headline-making 2014 D cent hasn't been discovered. It could be sitting in a roll from the bank. It could be in the handful of coins you got back from a cashier this morning. It could be in your home right now. And you wouldn't know, unless you look. So the next time you hear that faint metallic clink, the next time a penny lands in your palm, pause, turn it over, find the D mint mark. Look closer than you ever have before, because the difference between 1 cent and a life-changing coin is often just a detail the size of a grain of sand. And for those willing to search, willing to learn, willing to see what others miss, the 2014 D Lincoln cent is no longer just spare change. It's a question, a possibility, a hidden story waiting to be uncovered. And maybe, just maybe, the next great discovery isn't in someone else's collection. Maybe it's already in your hands. Right now, in jars, desk drawers, cup holders, and forgotten change trays across America, there are 2006 Lincoln cents quietly waiting. They look ordinary, copper-colored, worn by time, spent without a second thought. But some of these coins carry secrets, tiny, almost invisible details that have turned a single penny into a story of staggering value. And here's the part that stops people cold. Collectors have chased examples so pristine, so rare, that online headlines and whispered auction rumors have pushed their possible value into the realm of hundreds of thousands. Even claims as high as $844,000 for a flawless specimen. 1 cent less than the cost of a paperclip. suddenly worth more than a house. So how does that happen? Why would a coin that millions of Americans have touched become the center of a modern treasure hunt? The answer begins with a simple absence. In 2006, Lincoln cents were struck in multiple mints. Some carry a small d, some an s, and some nothing at all. No mint mark. Just the familiar portrait and the quiet date. To most people, that means Philadelphia. Common, ordinary, spendable. But in the world of coin collecting, ordinary is often just a disguise. Because what matters is not only where a coin was made, but how, and that's where the story turns. The 2006 no mint mark Lincoln cent exists in staggering numbers. Millions upon millions rolled off the presses. Yet among them are microscopic differences, variations in strike, surface, luster, and preservation that separate pocket change from museum-grade rarity. Think about this for a moment. Two coins leave the mint on the same day. One gets tossed into circulation, nicked by vending machines, scarred by years of use. The other is somehow protected, never touched, never spent. Its original red brilliance frozen in time. One is worth a cent. The other, in the right condition, authenticated and graded at the highest levels, it becomes something else entirely. A condition rarity. And in the coin world, condition is king. But that's only the first layer. Because hidden among these 2006 cents are errors, real, documented minting mistakes that transform a modern coin into a collector's obsession. Off-center strikes that shift Lincoln's portrait into surreal territory. Broad strikes that stretch the metal beyond its intended boundary. Double dies that create ghost-like echoes in the lettering. Details you can only see when you slow down and really look. Die cracks that look like lightning frozen in copper. And the most dramatic of all, coins struck on the wrong planchet, their color and weight betraying a minting process gone off script. These are the moments when a coin stops being money and starts becoming a story. A story of a split-second mechanical failure. A story of a mint worker who didn't notice. A story that somehow survived in circulation for nearly 2 decades, until someone like you finds it. Let that sink in, because every day, people spend these coins without looking. They slide them across counters, drop them into tip jars, feed them into parking meters. What if one of those coins had a doubling so strong it could be seen with the naked eye? What if one had a strike so perfected ranked among the finest ever certified? What if the next one you receive in change has never been touched by human skin since the day it was minted? This is not fantasy. This is the modern coin hunt. And it's happening in real time. Across the country, collectors are pulling 2006 cents from rolls, searching for that blazing, original red color. The sign of a coin that has never circulated. They're examining the date and lettering under magnification, looking for anomalies. They're sending their best finds to grading services, hoping for the 2 letters and 2 numbers that change everything. MS68, MS69. Because at those levels, population reports drop to almost nothing. 1 or 2 known, sometimes none. And when supply becomes that thin, the market does something extraordinary. It pays, not for the metal, not for the denomination, but for the rarity of perfection. Now here's the twist that keeps this story alive. Most people believe all valuable coins are old. They think treasure comes from the 1800s, from dusty attics and inherited collections. But the 2006 Lincoln cent proves something different. Value can be modern. Treasure can be in your pocket. And the hunt doesn't require a metal detector or a bank vault. It requires attention. It requires curiosity. It requires the willingness to ask a simple question every time you see a penny. Is this just 1 cent, or is this the one? Because the difference between those 2 realities is measured in details smaller than a grain of sand. Look at the surfaces. Are they flawless, or do they show the faintest ticks from contact with other coins? Look at the color. Is it a deep, blazing red, or has it faded to brown? Look at the strike. Are Lincoln's hairlines sharp and complete, or slightly soft? These are the clues. These are the breadcrumbs that lead from face value to 4 figures, 5 figures, and in the most extreme, headline-grabbing scenarios, the kind of numbers that make people recheck every coin they own. And that's why this coin has captured the imagination of a generation. Because it's not locked in a museum. It's not already spoken for. It's still out there, somewhere in circulation, waiting. Think about the power of that for a moment. A treasure hunt that costs nothing to enter. A chance that hides in plain sight. A reminder that extraordinary things often wear ordinary faces. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you walk past that jar of change, when you see a 2006 Lincoln cent staring back at you, don't look away. Turn it over. Tilt it into the light. Ask yourself if the surfaces are too perfect, too clean, too sharp for a coin that's supposed to be common. Because someone, somewhere, is going to find the next great example. Someone is going to pull a coin from a roll, send it in for grading, and watch the result come back at a level almost no one else has achieved. And in that moment, the story will repeat. Headlines will appear. Collectors will scramble. And millions of people will start checking their change again. Why not you? Why not now? Because the most powerful part of this story isn't the value. It's the possibility. The possibility that wealth can come from awareness. That patience can turn into profit. That history is still being written in copper and zinc, one coin at a time. So don't dismiss the penny. Don't overlook the day. Don't assume you would recognize treasure if it was in your hand. The next life-changing discovery won't announce itself. It will look exactly like every other coin you've ever seen, until you truly see it. And when you do, you'll understand why collectors say the same thing, over and over, with a mix of hope and urgency. Check your change. Because one of those 2006 Mint Lincoln cents could be more than a coin. It could be your story. 1996. What if I told you that a single penny, yes, a humble Lincoln cent, could be worth more than a house? More than a car? More than some people make in a decade? I'm not talking about some tall tale or a once-in-a-lifetime hoax. I'm talking about a coin minted in 1996, a coin that almost everyone overlooks. But the few who recognize it have seen fortunes explode, up to hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars. This is the story of the 1996 Mint Lincoln cent, a coin that has stunned collectors, shocked dealers, and changed lives. And the most fascinating part? It might be sitting in your wallet right now, waiting to be discovered. It all begins with an ordinary penny. On the surface, it looks exactly like any other Lincoln cent minted in Denver in 1996. The familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, the clean copper sheen, the familiar Mint mark stamped on its face. You've passed these coins thousands of times, and most of us toss them aside without a second glance. But here's the catch. This coin hides secrets so rare, so shocking, that experts say fewer than a handful exist in pristine, collector-grade condition. And what kind of secrets? Errors. Not the minor scratches or tiny dings you find on your pocket change. I'm talking about anomalies in the coin's die itself. Hidden mistakes that can turn a 1-cent piece into a 6-figure treasure. Think of doubled dies, repunched mint marks, and subtle variations in the lettering that almost no one can spot. To the untrained eye, it's just another penny. But to the right collector, it's a goldmine. Now, consider this. Most pennies are worth a few cents. Some rare pennies might reach a few $100s. But the 1996 Mint Lincoln cent? Some have sold for over $844,000. Yes, that's almost $1 million for a single coin. Can you imagine holding something in your hand that's worth more than most people's annual salaries? And the craziest part? These sales aren't urban legends. They're documented, reported, verified in auction houses and collector records across the country. So how does a penny, a coin made for everyday transactions, suddenly commands such astronomical value? It all comes down to its rarity and condition. Like most coins, the 1996 D Mint mark went through standard production. But somewhere along the line, errors crept into a tiny fraction of the batch. A mint worker's misalignment, a die crack, a subtle misstrike, small, almost invisible imperfections that, when combined with perfect preservation, make this coin almost mythical. And there's a psychological twist here that makes it even more fascinating. Humans are naturally drawn to rarity. We see it in art, in jewelry, in collectibles. But a coin takes that desire to an entirely new level. Why? Because it's tangible. You can hold it, examine it, and feel the weight of history in your hand. And when that coin could literally change your financial life overnight, the allure becomes almost irresistible. But don't be fooled. This isn't some get-rich-quick scheme. The market for these coins is fierce, competitive, and incredibly discerning. Every scratch, every mark, every speck of dirt matters. Condition is king. A coin in circulated condition? Worth a few hundred, maybe a couple $1,000s. A coin graded in top-tier condition, flawless under magnification? That's when the numbers start to skyrocket. That's when six-figure, even seven-figure sales become possible. Collectors have documented multiple versions of the 1996 D Lincoln Cent. Some have minor minting quirks, barely noticeable to the naked eye. Others bear dramatic die errors, double mint marks, off-center strikes, or even faint extra lines around Lincoln's profile. And it's in these rare, almost impossibly pristine versions that the coin transforms from mundane to legendary. Here's where it gets even more intriguing. The market doesn't always behave rationally. Coins that were once ignored can explode in value virtually overnight. One auction house in 2020 listed a 1996 D Mint mark Lincoln Cent in perfect condition, and bid soared past $800,000. Another example surfaced just last year, selling privately for what insiders describe as life-changing money to a lucky collector who simply knew what to look for. Now, imagine standing at the kitchen counter, holding a jar of pennies that have collected over the years. Imagine digging through them one by one, and then suddenly you spot it, a glimmer, a subtle misalignment, a mint mark that looks off. Could it be? Could that coin, which cost 1 cent, be the very coin that changes everything? That's the thrill that drives collectors to obsess over every batch of pennies, every roll, every forgotten drawer. Because unlike lottery tickets, the odds aren't completely random. Knowledge, observation, and a trained eye can dramatically improve your chances. You may be asking, how can I be sure I'm holding the right coin? Experts suggest a methodical approach. First, examine the mint mark for anomalies. Look closely at the letters and numbers. Doubling, extra lines, or unusual spacing can signal a rare variant. Then check the coin's strike quality. Flawless, sharp edges, clean fields, perfect relief are all indicators of premium value. And finally, condition must be nearly perfect. Even the smallest nick or scratch can reduce the coin's value by tens of thousands of dollars. But even with all the rules, the 1996 D Mint mark Lincoln Cent still holds a magic that defies logic. Its rarity is compounded by a mysterious allure. People talk about it like a ghost story, a treasure waiting to be unearthed, a single object that carries both history and immense financial potential. Some collectors have spent decades hunting it down. Others stumble upon it unexpectedly, and their lives are changed forever. And that brings us to the most powerful lesson this coin teaches. Fortune often hides in plain sight. It doesn't always scream, it doesn't wear a gold label, and it doesn't wait in a vault. Sometimes, it sits quietly in your pocket, your drawer, your coin jar, silently waiting for you to recognize its true value. So here's the final, shocking truth. While not every 1996 D Lincoln cent is a jackpot, the potential is real. Reports from top auctions, private sales, and verified collectors confirm it. These coins have sold for hundreds of thousands, even approaching $1 million. And every year, new examples emerge, hidden in circulation, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. Could one of these coins be sitting in your change right now? Could it be buried among the pennies you've been tossing into jars for years? The idea alone is exhilarating. You don't have to travel to a distant treasure hunt or buy exotic collectibles. Sometimes, the next fortune is right under your fingertips, ordinary in appearance, extraordinary in reality. The 1996 D Mint Mark Lincoln cent is more than a coin. It's a reminder that the world still holds secrets, that luck and knowledge can collide in the most unexpected ways, and that a single, overlooked object can change a life forever. Every misaligned mint mark, every die error, every flawless coin is a chance, an opportunity to turn a mundane penny into a story of wealth, discovery, and sheer astonishment. So the next time you find yourself holding a handful of pennies, stop. Look closer. Examine every detail. Among the ordinary, the extraordinary waits. And if you find it, the coin that whispers secrets of fortune, you'll know exactly why collectors around the world chase this elusive Lincoln cent. Because once you see it, once you truly see it, your life might never be the same. 195. A handful of loose change. A tired jar on a kitchen counter. A coin sliding across the palm of your hand under the yellow glow of an ordinary lamp. Nothing about the moment feels historic. Nothing feels different. And yet, hidden in plain sight, one small copper circle from 1995 has been whispered about in collector circles as a coin that has stunned the market, shocked experts, and in its most flawless condition has reportedly reached a staggering $844,000. 1 cent. Not a gold bar. Not a rare painting. A penny. And here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night. It doesn't have a mint mark. And flashy design. No dramatic size. No obvious sign that it's special. Just the quiet date, 1995. And the absence of a tiny letter beneath it. So why has this coin ignited such obsession? Why are seasoned numismatists still searching through pocket change like treasure hunters? And most importantly, could one be sitting in your home right now? Because the truth is far more unsettling than most people realize. The story of the 1995 No Mint Mark Lincoln cent is not just about a coin. It's about a mistake. A moment. A microscopic detail that turned something ordinary into a potential fortune. In 1995, millions upon millions of Lincoln cents were struck in Philadelphia. And for that mint, no mint mark was completely normal. Expected. Routine. Which is exactly why this mystery deepens. If no mint mark was standard, then how could one become so valuable? The answer lies in the details most people never think to check. Tiny variations. Subtle doubling. Surfaces so pristine they look as if time itself never touched them. Coins that were never meant to survive in perfect condition, yet somehow did. And when one of these near-perfect examples appears, blazing with original luster, razor-sharp details, untouched by circulation, the bidding doesn't just climb. It explodes. Because collectors are not just buying a penny. They are buying survival against impossible odds. They are buying the finest known example of something that should have been spent on a soda in 1995. And that's where the numbers start to sound unreal. Hundreds of dollars becomes thousands. Thousands become tens of thousands. And then comes that moment, the auction room holding its breath, when the price crosses into territory most people associate with luxury homes. Not pocket change. $844,000. For 1 cent. Let that sink in. What makes someone pay that much for something you might overlook in a parking lot? Condition, perfection, and the hunt for the absolute best. Because in the modern coin market, the highest grades, Those microscopic differences in surface quality can multiply value in ways that feel almost supernatural. Two coins struck on the same day from the same dies can have a price difference of hundreds of thousands of dollars simply because one was preserved with surgical precision. And that's the twist that changes everything. This isn't just about rare coins locked away in museums. This is about coins that were released into circulation during your lifetime. Coins that passed through grocery stores, gas stations, vending machines. Coins that people ignored. And every time one of those coins is found in extraordinary condition, the story resets. Because it means there could be another, somewhere, right now, waiting. And then come the hidden errors, the details that turn curiosity into urgency. Look closer at the date. Look at the lettering. Look for doubling so slight it almost plays tricks on your eyes. The famous double die varieties of 1995 have already created legends in the coin world. Strong doubling on Liberty. Distortion in God We Trust. A bold, unmistakable shift that transforms a single cent into a four-figure prize, and in elite condition, far beyond. But here's the psychological hook that makes this coin different from ancient rarities or long-lost treasures. You don't need a metal detector. You don't need to travel across the world. You don't need to inherit a vault. All you need is attention. How many times have you received change and never looked at the dates? How many jars of coins are sitting in closets, garages, and dresser drawers across America? How many people have unknowingly spent something that could have paid off a mortgage? That question alone has fueled a nationwide treasure hunt. Because the 1995 Nomit Mark Lincoln set represents something deeper than money. It represents possibility. The idea that wealth can still be discovered, not earned over decades, but found in a moment. And that idea is powerful. It's why people who have never cared about coins suddenly start checking every penny. It's why online searches for valuable 1995 penny spike again and again. It's why collectors with decades of experience still feel a rush when they see that date, because even they know the next record-breaking example hasn't been found yet. And when it is, the headlines will return. The disbelief will return. The same question will echo across the country. Where was this coin hiding? Under a couch cushion? In a child's piggy bank? In a roll from the bank that someone almost didn't open? This is not a fantasy. This is a pattern that is repeated again and again in the coin world. Ordinary people making extraordinary discoveries because they decided, for just a few seconds, to look closer. And here's the most thrilling part. The market for top-condition modern coins is not shrinking. It's growing. New collectors are entering. Registry competitions are intensifying. Wealthy buyers are chasing the finest known examples with a level of intensity once reserved for classic rarities. Which means the next perfect 1995 Nomit Mark set could ignite a bidding war even more dramatic than the last. Imagine that moment. You tilt the coin under a light. The surfaces blaze. Not a scratch. Not a dull patch. Just flawless copper brilliance. Your heart starts to beat faster. You send it for grading. Weeks pass, and then the grade comes back. One of the highest ever recorded. In that instant, your 1 cent is no longer 1 cent. It becomes a story. A headline. A life-changing decision. Do you sell? Do you hold? Do you watch as collectors compete for something that once sat unnoticed in your home? That is the power of this coin. Not just its value, its potential, because for every example that has already made history, there are countless more still unexamined, still unrecognized, still waiting for the right pair of eyes. And that brings us to the question that matters more than anything else. What's in your change right now? Not theoretically. Not someday. Tonight. In your car's cup holder. In the jar you haven't touched in years. In the stack of coins you almost take to the bank without checking. Because history has already proven that the most shocking discoveries don't happen in dramatic places. They happen in ordinary homes, to ordinary people, who decided to look. So the next time a penny crosses your path, don't dismiss it, turn it over, find the date, look for the details. Because the 1995 no-mint mark Lincoln cent has already changed lives. It has already rewritten what people believe a single cent can be worth, and somewhere, quietly, invisibly, another one is waiting to do it again. Maybe in your city, maybe on your street, maybe in your hand. And when you finally see it, when the light hits that copper surface, and you realize what you're holding, you'll understand why this humble coin has captured the imagination of an entire generation of treasure hunters. 1 cent 1 moment. 1 discovery, and the possibility of turning pocket change into a fortune. 1994 A simple penny. Copper brown. Abraham Lincoln staring quietly into history. The kind of coin that disappears into couch cushions, car cup holders, and the bottoms of forgotten jars. But what if one of those ordinary cents, one dated 1994, could be worth more than your house, more than your retirement, even more than a winning lottery ticket? Because somewhere in America, a 1994 Lincoln cent with no mint mark is no longer pocket change. In its finest known condition, it has been reported to command staggering market attention, with elite examples pushing toward an astonishing $844,000. And the most unsettling part? It might still be hiding in circulation, right now. In someone's junk drawer, maybe in yours. The story begins the way all great treasure stories do, with something overlooked. In 1994, billions of Lincoln cents were struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Unlike coins from Denver or San Francisco, Philadelphia coins traditionally carried no mint mark at all. That was normal. That was expected. That was invisible. Or so collectors believed. But in the quiet corners of the numismatic world, whispers began to circulate. Certain 1994 cents weren't just ordinary Philadelphia issues. They showed strange, subtle, almost ghost-like anomalies. Anomalies so easy to miss that most people spent them without a second thought. Tiny distortions in the lettering, unusual surface textures, microscopic doubling that only revealed itself under magnification, and in a few extraordinary cases, a level of preservation so perfect it seemed impossible for a coin that had supposedly entered circulation. How does a coin survive 3 decades without a single mark? Where was it hiding? Who held it back? And why did it take so long for anyone to notice? Because when collectors finally did notice, the reaction wasn't mild curiosity, it was shock. Coins graded at the highest levels, near mythical mint state conditions, began to sell for amounts that made even seasoned dealers pause. Prices climbed. Competition intensified. Registry collectors, the elite hunters of perfect coins, entered bidding wars that transformed a 1-cent coin into a 6-figure prize. A penny. 1 cent suddenly worth more than a luxury car, more than a college education, more than most people earn in a decade. And here's where the story takes a turn. Most people believe valuable coins have to be old, colonial, silver, gold, ancient. But the 1994 cent shattered that illusion. It proved that modern coins you remember receiving in change, can become rarities of breathtaking value. Why? Because perfection is rare. Billions were made, but almost none survived untouched. Think about it. The moment a coin drops into a cash register, it begins a slow, brutal journey. It's scraped, dented, dulled. It collides with other coins. It's dragged across counters. It's forgotten in parking lots. Every tiny contact leaves a scar. So when a flawless 1994 no mint mark cent appears, blazing red, razor-sharp details, surfaces glowing as if struck yesterday, collectors don't just see a coin, they see a miracle of survival, and miracles command a price. But condition isn't the only twist, because hidden within some of these coins are minting irregularities so subtle they escape the untrained eye. Slight doubling in the date. Dye polish lines that shimmer under light. Faint design shifts that separate an ordinary cent from one worth thousands or more. What if the coin you tossed into a tip jar last week had one of those markers? What if the next time you break $1, the cashier hands you a fortune? It sounds impossible until you remember how many life-changing discoveries have already happened. Collectors have found rare coins in inherited jars. In rolls from the bank. In the bottom of old toolboxes. Treasure doesn't announce itself. It waits for someone who knows what to look for. And that's the psychological pull of the 1994 cent. It's close enough to our own time to feel reachable. This isn't a relic from the 1800s locked away in museums. This is a coin from the era of cassette tapes, early internet, and Saturday morning garage sales. You were alive when it was minted. You may have spent $1. That's what makes it electrifying. Because it means the hunt is still on, and the numbers tell a story that borders on unbelievable. Top-tier examples, coins graded at the absolute peak of preservation, have crossed into prized territory once reserved for rare gold and early American classics. Collectors don't just want them. They chase them. They track population reports. They monitor auctions. They wait for years for a single upgrade. Why? Because when you own the finest known example of a coin, you don't just own metal. You own the best. The pinnacle, the one everyone else wishes they had, and that status, that exclusivity, is what drives values into the stratosphere. But here's the question that changes everything. What about the coins that haven't been graded yet? What about the coins still sitting in piggy banks, coffee cans, and dresser drawers across the country? Because every legendary coin started as an unknown coin. Every record-breaking sale began with someone taking a second look. Imagine this. Tonight, after this video ends, you walk into your kitchen. You open that jar of loose change you've been ignoring for years. You start sorting. Pennies slide across the table in dull, familiar piles. Then you see a .A1994 in mint mark. The color is different, brighter, deeper, almost glowing. The edges are sharp. The surface looks untouched. Your heart starts to beat faster. Could this be one of them? That moment, that electric realization, is why people fall in love with coin collecting. Because unlike most forms of treasure hunting, this one is still within reach. You don't need a ship. You don't need a metal detector. You just need curiosity and attention and the willingness to look at something everyone else ignores. The 1994 no mint mark Lincoln cent is more than a coin. It's a symbol. It represents the idea that extraordinary value can exist in ordinary places, that wealth can hide in plain sight, that history isn't just in museums, it's in your pocket. And as more collectors awaken to its significance, the pressure builds. The finest examples disappear into long-term collections. Population. Numbers remain tiny. Demand grows. And every year, fewer pristine coins remain to be discovered, which leads to the question you can't ignore. How many are left? How many are still out there, waiting for someone who knows their worth? Because the difference between 1 cent and hundreds of thousands of dollars isn't luck. It's knowledge. It's awareness. It's the decision to look closer when everyone else walks away. This is the climax of the story. The moment where possibility becomes action. Somewhere in America, someone is holding a coin they don't realize is extraordinary. Somewhere, a life-changing discovery is about to happen. Why not you? Why not tonight? Check the dates. Look at the surfaces. Search for that blazing red color, that flawless detail, those subtle anomalies that separate the common from the rare. Because history has already proven one thing beyond doubt. Fortunes have been found in pocket change. And the next one hasn't been discovered yet. It's still out there, waiting for the person who refuses to overlook a penny ever again. 1991 A single penny. Copper brown. Worn smooth by time. The kind that gets tossed into jars, lost between couch cushions, or left behind in a take-a-penny tray without a second thought. But what if one of those ordinary coins, sitting right now in your home, could be worth more than a luxury mansion? What if a single Lincoln cent, dated 1991, with one tiny missing detail, has turned everyday people into six-figure winners, and in the most pristine condition? Has been whispered about in connection with values reaching an astonishing $844,000? Sounds impossible. That's exactly what makes it real. Because the 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln cent isn't just a coin. It's a modern treasure hunt hiding in plain sight. And the most shocking part? Millions of Americans have handled one and spent it like it was nothing. The story begins in a year that doesn't feel very long ago. 1991. Gas was cheap. The Cold War had just ended. And the U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents at a speed that would make your head spin. Philadelphia struck its coins without mint marks. Denver used a D. San Francisco used an S. Simple, predictable, routine. But somewhere in that massive production process, something went wrong. Not loudly, not dramatically. Quietly. A small batch of coins emerged with characteristics that didn't match what collectors expected. Subtle differences, mysterious anomalies, tiny details that only the sharpest eyes would ever notice. And for years, no one did. Because who looks closely at a penny? That's the first twist in this story. The most valuable coins in America aren't always locked away in vaults or displayed in museums. Sometimes they pass through a drive-through window. Sometimes they come back as change from the grocery store. Sometimes they're sitting in a jar in your kitchen right now. The 1991 Lincoln cent with no mint mark seems ordinary at first glance. That's what makes it so dangerous to ignore. But under magnification, the secrets begin to reveal themselves. Die variations, doubling in the lettering, subtle shifts in the date, unusual strike characteristics that separate a face value coin from a collector's dream. And when one of these coins is discovered in near perfect condition, blazing red, flawless surfaces, razor-sharp detail, the value doesn't just climb. It explodes. Here's where the suspense deepens. Most people think rare coins come from the 1800s, the Wild West, Civil War era, but this one came from your lifetime, which means there's a chance, a real chance, it hasn't been found yet. How many are still out there? How many are sitting in piggy banks, forgotten collections, old coffee cans in the garage? No one knows. And that uncertainty is what fuels the market. Because when collectors start competing for the finest known example of a coin, logic disappears. Condition becomes everything. A circulated coin might be worth a few cents, but a coin graded at the very top of the scale, a near-perfect specimen, enters a different universe entirely. That's how modern coins cross into six-figure territory. That's how ordinary people suddenly find themselves holding something extraordinary. And that's how the number $844,000 enters the conversation. Not for a gold coin. Not for a coin from the 1700s. For a penny. Let that sink in. 1 cent, becoming a life-changing asset. This is where the story turns personal. Because this isn't about a museum piece. It's about the coins you can still find right now. In your home. Think about how many pennies you've handled in your life. Thousands? Tens of thousands? How many did you actually look at? That's the second twist. The difference between a missed opportunity and a financial breakthrough often comes down to a few seconds of attention, the right date, the absence of a mint mark, the brilliance of the surface, the sharpness of Lincoln's portrait, tiny details that most people never notice. But collectors obsess over. And here's the part that keeps treasure hunters awake at night. New discoveries are still happening. People are still pulling valuable coins out of circulation, still opening old rolls from the bank, still searching through inherited collections, still finding pieces worth hundreds, thousands, sometimes far more than they ever imagined, which means the hunt is not over. It's just beginning. And every time someone dismisses a penny as worthless, the odds shift in favor of the person who decides to look closer. Because rare coins don't announce themselves. They hide in plain sight. The 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln cent represents something bigger than its metal content. It represents the idea that wealth can be overlooked, that opportunity can be disguised as something ordinary, that the next life-changing discovery might be sitting in your change jar instead of on Wall Street. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you actually checked your coins? Not glanced at them. Checked them. Examined the date. Looked for the mint mark. Tilted the surface under a light. Because that simple act, the act most people never take, is where the story changes. That's where curiosity becomes possibility, and possibility becomes value. This is the moment in every treasure story where the music builds, where the camera zooms in, where the realization hits. You don't need a metal detector on a beach. You don't need to buy expensive antiques. You don't need to be a professional collector. You just need to look at what you already have. That's it. The greatest barrier between most people and a rare coin discovery isn't knowledge. It's attention. Because once you know what to look for, the world of pocket change transforms. Every coin becomes a question. Every date becomes a clue. Every missing mint mark becomes a heartbeat. Could this be the one? And imagine the moment if it is. The moment you see the details line up. The moment you realize you're holding something that shouldn't exist in ordinary change. The moment the value jumps from one cent to something that could change your financial future. That's not fantasy. That's a documented pattern in the world of coin collecting. And it's happening quietly, every single day, while most people walk past it without a second thought. Here's the final revelation. The 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln cent isn't just about its highest reported value. It's about what it represents. It represents the idea that the next great discovery doesn't belong to experts alone. It belongs to the person willing to slow down and look. Because somewhere in America tonight, someone will empty their pockets onto a table. They'll see a handful of pennies. They'll almost walk away. Then they'll stop. They'll remember this story. They'll pick one up, check the date, search for the mint mark. And in that quiet moment, the ordinary will become extraordinary. The hunt will begin. And the question that changes everything will echo in their mind. What if this one is worth a fortune? So before you walk past that jar of coins, before you ignore the change in your car, before you spend another penny without looking at it, take a second. Because history has already proven that life-changing discoveries don't always come from where we expect. Sometimes, they come from a single coin, waiting for someone like you to finally notice.